In this episode, we're going to be talking about key strategies that will help you promote and market your podcast. Stay tuned. This is the Podcast in the Rough. Tune in every Friday for new adventurous episodes. Welcome back to the Podcast in the Rough. I'm your host, Zebulon Thomas, and today we're going to be talking about some key strategies that you can use to help promote and advertise your podcast. Some things that maybe you've missed and you've let go of or you forgot about. Sometimes we do podcasting and we do it in a way that we just want to get it done, right? Boom, boom, knock it out, finish it, move on, right? And we don't even listen to ourselves. And you should go back and listen to your episodes and try to improve upon yourself. But one of the things is it also shouldn't be a quick, okay, I got to get it in this week. That's not what we want to do. If you do your podcast and you get excited about it and you prep for your podcast. Now, a lot of you in my group, I've seen you, right? You guys are prepping for your podcast. I love that. When we're doing our podcast, we don't want to rush this. We want to make this something that we enjoy doing every week, right? If you're doing weekly, if you're doing daily, this is awesome because you should just be able to knock out little quick 5-10 minute bangers and you have a system down, right? You know what that's going to be like and how it's going to sound. And you get in your groove, you get in a movement. The same thing with creating advertisement for your podcast. Like, think about it. How do you want your podcast to be represented out there? You know, how do you want to attract your listeners? It's like you want to hold a sign out and say, hey, this is a podcast, come check me out. Or, hey, subscribe to my podcast. Well, that's nice. You're just asking for us without, you didn't warm us up, right? You want to warm the market up. Don't just go out there and be like, hey, subscribe. I've noticed there's a lot of my friends on Facebook that are not currently subscribed to my podcast. So when I post up, if I were to just post up an image and say, please, subscribe. Even if I get you to subscribe, you're not going to write a review. Let's just say I said subscribe and write a review. What kind of review is that going to be? Because just because you're my friend, you're going to write a review? No, I want you to listen to it and give me actual feedback that the public can listen to and other listeners can read the review and go, all right, let me check this out. I don't want just a good review. I want a real honest review, right? So what I do is when I do post something, I might post a picture on my podcast and I might say, hey, friends and family, right? If you're on Facebook, it's my personal Facebook. If you have not yet subscribed to the podcast, please tune in to this episode. I'll include a link. Listen to it. And if you like it, I would love your support. Subscribe. And if you'd like, give me a review on this episode. This gives them a chance to check out the podcast, listen to it, and maybe they decide they want to subscribe if they like it to support me. And then also they can write a review. And you've already given them the blueprint of what they need. You've given them the task, if you will. You said, here's the podcast. I'd love for you to check it out. And when you check it out, if you like it, you can subscribe. And once you subscribed, can you please just write a review on this episode to let me know how I'm doing and let other people know what to expect? Give them the good stuff, right? It's almost like a movie review. That's a simple way to do it. But when you're dealing with like people outside of your circle, outside of your friends list, outside of your mailing list, those warm leads, right? If you're dealing with just cold traffic, the world that's out there, you really got to juice them up. You got to get them to look at your podcast advertisement and go, what is that about? I got to check that out. So create a catchy image or put up your logo and make sure it's flashy or it's true to what your podcast is about. And even put up words on that ad that says like the name of your podcast. And it could just be like, it could be all black, the name of your podcast. You don't even use your logo at this point. Like, I'm all about branding, but maybe you just need the name of the podcast and then bullet points of what the podcast is about. Just be blunt with it on the advertising side of things. So when people see it, they go, oh, this is what the podcast is about? I'm going to check that out. Or if it's like super, colorful, maybe it's bright colors. You grab the attention when someone's scrolling through on Instagram or on Facebook and they see this image, they go, what's this about? And then they want to click. A lot of people put the link to their podcast in the description and it's not clickable. You can't click it. So I highly recommend you putting that link in your Instagram bio or going further and getting a Linktree account and then adding that inside the links so you have multiple links in your Instagram bio. And you can just put then underneath that or even on the image, check out the podcast, link is in my Instagram bio. And that way people know, they go click, click, boom, they're inside. But a lot of people will just put the link and no one's typing that in. It doesn't work. You can't do it. Stop putting your links in the Instagram description. It doesn't work. Now, you want to hit this across platforms. So make sure that when you're pushing your podcast as an advertisement, hit YouTube, hit Facebook, hit Instagram, hit TikTok, right? Also, convert these ads into the exact format that they need to be displayed properly on those platforms. You got Instagram, you could do a 1x1, that's a square. You could do the horizontal 1920 by 1080, or you can do the 1080 by 1920, and that's the vertical. right, in your stories. So you have 3 formats: the square, the horizontal, and the vertical. Make sure you make ads in all 3 formats. And those ads should show your podcast. It should have a link to the website of your podcast that it's on, or like the platform. So, hey, it's on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Have that icon there. It should also include, if you're doing daily, put daily episodes, 2 p.m., right? Or every Friday, 9 a.m. Give them the date and time of the schedule right there on the advertisement. And then give them a few key points. Like if you have a tagline, like me, it's podcasting from start to success, I'll have that right there. So they see the podcast in the rough, podcasting from start to success. Or I can help you launch your podcast. Tune into the podcast in the rough. So they know it's about podcasting. And they'll see that. Now that'll attract qualified leads, qualified listeners, if you will. They're going to be like, hey, these are the people that want to listen to my show. If you're doing podcasts or enjoy listening to podcasts or want to see behind the scenes of how podcasts are created, then you should subscribe to this podcast, right? That's what mine is saying. So yours should say, put your branding on top. That could be your logo. Put your information, the website, the platform it's on. Then put up your schedule. Tune in every Friday, 2 p.m., whatever that is for you, right? So they know there's a schedule there. I don't want to miss that. Include a tagline or bullet points of what the podcast is going to be about. Now, this is just a form of a still ad, right? You could just get away with that, a still ad. It's like a little mini poster, and it's got to look good. Make it look juicy, but don't spend so much time on this that it never comes out. Spend enough creative time having fun creating this. Show some friends, test it out. What do you think? Or just run the ball and be like, hey, I'm in my creative zone. I like how this looks. It's the artist in me, and I'm going to put it up. Once that's up and ready to go, then post it, because you want to post in your reels, in your stories as a main post, because they get seen differently. And you want people to see your podcast. And then you can jump over to TikTok, do the same thing. Look at the formats, figure out what the dimensions are going to be, and put it up. YouTube, same way. You got YouTube Shorts and you got YouTube videos. You could even make shorter videos with the image on it. Like maybe it runs for 30, 60 seconds and it has an image on it. Maybe some background music. Now let's go a step further. Let's create little micro ads. Pull out your microphone and start creating a micro ad. So what that is, talk about your podcast. We're in an elevator. I hit the button. We're going up or going down. I see you. I ask you, what do you do? I'm a podcaster. What is your podcast about? You start talking. Oh, door opens. Ding. I got to go. I either cut you off or I heard what your pitch is. You got to give me that, 15, 20-second elevator pitch, right? I wonder if elevators move any faster these days. Or you could do what I do and be like, hey, what floor are you going to? And they say we're going to floor 3 and we're on floor 1. And you accidentally bump floor 50. Well, you didn't tell them. Now you have longer time to talk about your podcast. No, get your podcast down to a T. How do you want to talk about your podcast? What is the juicy stuff that makes it so exciting that you think people should listen to and they're going to love that? What is that about? Do a small micro ad and talk about it. Now, you can put that image that you created and a voice over it and maybe some music. And now you got a little micro ad. We're starting simple. And then eventually you could do video of yourself and you're like jumping around doing cool stuff or whatever. Think creative stuff. Like, here's the thing. Sometimes you might be home all alone. You got the house to yourself. What crazy stuff can you do in the kitchen, right? What crazy stuff can you do around the house? Can you vacuum real fast? Can you throw food everywhere? What can you do that's wild that you could film and then turn that into a small micro ad? Get super creative with how you market your podcast, how you create those ads. The other thing you could do that's really exciting that I like to do is I like to use my previous episodes as advertisement, as a link. This is the best way to promote your podcast, in my opinion. I found great success with myself and other people that I've built podcasts for. And that is taking micro clips of previous episodes and turning them into audiograms where the wave is bouncing around on the screen while you're talking. It's going with your mouth. It's great. And you don't even have to grab the video part if you're doing video podcasts. You could. It's even better if you did, but you don't have to. You could just simply go to Headliner. I love this app. It's very easy to use. It's got a great feature and it's quick. Get it done, right? Create a few audiograms, choose your format, and upload that. And once you get that uploaded, then people get to listen to your podcast episode. And if you grab the right juicy stuff, that micro clip, they're going to be like, I like this. And you can do 15, 30, or 60 seconds. Make sure you include a link. So what I do is if I'm using this audiogram in Instagram stories, then I'm going to include the link on the screen so they listen to it, and then I'll have a little arrow and it's just like click here to listen to the full episode, right? So they'll listen to that. Or don't miss the next episode, subscribe, and a link to the website. And I share them to the website. I talked about this in a previous episode. I share a website. I have a podcast website I pay for that populates my podcast automatically once I upload it to the source platform. And then it goes to my website. What's nice about this is for years I was telling people, hey, subscribe to the podcast. And I would share an Apple podcast link. But not everyone has Apple Podcast. Some people are on Spotify. Some people are on something else. So I created the website because it was the best thing to do, because now they can go to that episode that I've shared and they'll see the episode, they can listen to the episode, and on that screen is all the different platforms they can subscribe on. So they could pick which one they want to go to. They'd be like, oh, hey, look, there it is, Apple Podcasts. I'll click and subscribe to it that way. And that's how they jump to those platforms and give you the real subscription. Super easy that way. So make sure you do it that way because a lot of people are not going to search your podcast. So make it simple for the listeners to be able to check you out and then turn into diehard subscribers. Get the Headliner app. Super easy. You can create audiograms. That has been the most effective marketing strategy that I've seen over the past year and a half, is using an audiogram and a piece of your most juiciest spot of your podcast and let people hear that. And that's going to attract them. And plus, this will also give you feedback if you're creating good enough content. Because if nobody is subscribing, no one's coming through those links, then you got to step it up and you got to create better content. And it doesn't mean change everything. It just means maybe you need to obviously write out better content. Maybe you need to have more energy in your voice. Maybe you need to lower your tone a little bit and be more calm and relaxed based on your topic or subject. I do that too. Sometimes I get so juiced up and I'm like, let's go. And people are like, whoa, this is too much. Or sometimes I dial right in. I'm like, I'm hitting that zone. I'm like, this is how we create this. This is how we do this. This is the strategy. And it cuts right through the clutter. And they're like, oh, this is great. I need to get it. These are things that will help you improve your podcast. That's really going to help you grow. But make sure when you're advertising and you're marketing for your podcast, it doesn't mean you have to spend money on it. It just means you have to be super creative. If you're not going to spend the money on it, then be super creative. Take your time. Plan it out for a week. Like, what is this advertisement going to look like? Maybe I'm going to create a campaign of episodes, and I hit that every month for a whole year, and they're all a little different, but they all tie into each other. And they leave the viewer thinking, I got to tune in. If the campaign's this good, the podcast's got to be great. So this is where it just comes down to you just getting creative with your podcast and becoming a producer and produce small micro ads. And if you can move into video, even better, because that's when you can pull out your phone and film you doing silly stuff. If it has to do with your podcast, sky's the limit with your creation when it comes down to marketing. You can also do marketing that doesn't have to do with your podcast. It could just be exciting enough that people want to tune in. So maybe now you're spinning off your personality. So for me, if it was spinning off my personality, it might be a little crazy and wild. It might be showing me like jumping off the roof into a pool. Maybe you're a Zen master, right? And you meditate a lot. So maybe it's showing you doing your yoga and then doing meditation and then stretching and then lighting a candle and relaxing. And it's like your whole podcast is about Zen, right? Well, that'd be something I'd want to tune into. Or maybe it's midday and the rain is pouring down and you capture this opportunity to set up your phone and sit outside in the rain, or sit in your patio. Maybe you have a patio and the rain, you can open the window and listen to the rain and sit out there, and it's like your Zen den, right? And you're out there just chilling and you just have that playing in the background with the rain, and you can do some ASMR, like tune into the podcast in the rain. I don't know. Whatever your podcast is about, think creative, think outside the box, and capture those moments that really wants to pull them in. One thing I think about is there's so many people in the rat race. They get up, they go to work, they come home, right? They repeat that. And sometimes they don't have the time or someone to pull them away from the craziness. But you know what? When it gets too much, they might turn on the show, they might turn on a radio, they might turn on YouTube, and they might have been seeing your advertisement, right? And if you put up some stuff constantly about like Zen, right, that might pull someone out of it. They'd be like, whoa. Or someone who's going to work and they're like, I got to figure this out. And you're an entrepreneur and you talk about entrepreneur stuff and your energy is insane. They might be like, you know what? Screw this dead end job right here. Screw this low energy. I got to tune into this person that has all the energy because I need to get some new strategies and a new mindset so that I can start to achieve my goals and move up out of this situation that I'm in. Change the game. Think of all these little things that can help you grow your podcast by using creative marketing. Find ways to get that creativity going. Start a buzz. They're not going to talk about you if you're just doing simple stuff. They're going to talk about you if you add massive value, if you're controversial, or if you're just silly and you make mad mistakes, because we all make mistakes. And if you're highlighting your insecurities and those mistakes you make, it just makes everyone else seem more human. right? And so the people are going to tune into that going, I love this person because they're constantly messing up. And it makes me think, hey, I'm not so bad. Get creative with your marketing. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Some of you in my private podcast community mastermind group have not committed to creating your podcast. And I want to know why. I keep asking the group why. And you're just like, I'm not going to respond to this because I don't know why either. That's what the problem is. You're like, I don't know why either. Why am I not creating a podcast? That's my question. Why are you not creating a podcast? You are missing out. Listen, you have the time. Even if you're running that business, you owe yourself this opportunity, this outlet, because it's going to help you get through turbulent times. It's going to help you when you're thriving to thrive even more. It's going to help you when you feel lost and you need feedback from your community. It's going to help you when you try to shift your gears and do something different in your life or in your business because you've built that community, you've done this podcast, we've followed your journey, and it's going to make you be more available to more people that you couldn't reach otherwise just doing the business or the things that you do. So you owe this to yourself, and you also owe it to someone out there that will find your episodes, your podcast one day, and it will change their life, and they'll be able to step up their game and get out of their situation. Because remember, we might have an image of ourselves, but it is nothing like the image that other people create in their minds of us when they hear us on our episodes on our podcast, or they see us on YouTube or on video or on TV. Everything that you do, just make sure you do it to the best of your ability. You have fun, you get creative, and you add massive value. That's how you succeed. There's no easy way to the top. Anyone who tells you that they had it easy to get to the top, they're lying to you, because it takes hard work to get there, and then it takes even more work to stay there. And that's why you see the top 1% continuously working. You're like, well, why would they keep working if they're already set? I know more multimillionaires that work way more than anybody else, and they do not complain. And guess what? They do not have to work anymore, but they do because they need to stay in that spot, and they know how hard it is to get to that spot. And so they're maintaining their position, and they're also focusing on a whole nother level of wealth that many of you are not even thinking about. I could promise you that. Everybody else is like, how do I pay my bills? Then the next level of people are like, how do I make millions of dollars? Then there's another set of people that goes, how do I make millions of dollars and employ a bunch of people and create something that makes millions of dollars for other people? And then there's another level of people that goes, how do I work less, make more, and secure generational wealth? What is your driving force? What is your motivation to get to the top? If you've lost that, find it again. If you never thought about it, start thinking. Start thinking right now. Because I can tell you right now, if you're not thriving to get to the top, and this doesn't mean you have to be conceited, this doesn't mean you have to be egotistical, this doesn't mean you have to lie and cheat and steal, this doesn't mean that you have to become a rich snob, if you will. This just means, how can you make more money and unblock the negativities that you have maybe around making more money and success? And how can you use that to be your power, to be your strength? How much more can you serve on that higher level if you had the funding, if you had the platform, and you had the community? How many more people and how high and how deep can you serve? You see, life deserves more if you show up. And you know what? By you not sharing and creating a podcast, you're doing a disservice to yourself and to this community and to this world, because your ideas could change someone else's life halfway across the globe. I know this because I've seen this firsthand with other entrepreneurs, businesses, products, services, and including my own career. Doing the things that I'm going to do this. I'm going to be the best I can be at this. I'm going to try. And when I thought all else failed, I realized that I changed someone else's life in a major way somewhere else. And I was like, wow, if my failures can help other people build confidence, raise their self-esteem, and go for it and be successful, I'll fail every day, because we owe that to other people. And I want to leave you with one more thing here that I want to encourage you to do. This week, every time you make a post on social media, I don't care what the platform is. I don't care if it's in the description or you say it on the video or you put it in a text. Can you just say, I appreciate all of you? Can you just put something positive to the people that are watching your videos or listening to you or reading your posts? Can you just say, hey, maybe at the beginning, maybe in the middle, maybe at the end, wherever, be bold and just say, I appreciate you. You are welcome. You got this. Because we need to spread more positivity amongst ourselves and not rely on anybody else or any big company or any government or any politician or world leader or whoever. We can't rely on them to change the game for us. It's up to us. And I could tell you that a lot of people need that. So if you're posting something positive, just let people know. Don't put a call to action on that this week. Don't put up the advertisement to tell people to come spend the money on you or even to subscribe, and just make a post, a creative advertisement that just says, I appreciate you. That's it. How can I support you? Comment below so I can support you. Drop a comment. Tell me where I can follow you. DM me so I can write you back and give you some positive energy and not ask for anything in return. Practice doing that a few times a week. And if we all did that, number one, we're going to change the paradigm. We're going to change the vibration of our world amongst our fellow humans, right? We're going to teach people to have a spiritual experience instead of a human experience, right? Whatever you believe. And also, it's going to change your life too. It's going to put you on a path and raise your vibration so you are now receiving greatness, feeling great, and you're doing your part. So I wanted to share that with you. Thank you so much for tuning in. And again, post something positive. Enjoy your weekend. Take care. This is the podcast in the rough.